Yay! So I tried about, I would say like 10 times to make this work with Facebook. And for whatever reason, it did not work. So I'm doing it with YouTube. And hopefully this will work. Let me just test real quick and make sure that you can see me. Yay! Awesome. So I had this really interesting inspiration this morning to share something with you that I feel will really support you in moving ahead and moving ahead very quickly. There's one thing that I've been doing with all of my clients and myself and everything, and it has been working splendidly. I've been really testing this with myself, and the more that I do it, the more that it actually starts opening it up. But this is one of the ideas that falls within the realm of that understanding, deep level understanding, and how it can actually transform you. And it's really without delay of any kind. Let me go back into this so that I can truly, help you here. It's the understanding that if you don't want your client to make your coaching non-negotiable, you have to address non-negotiableness in you first. So here's the deal. You're more than anything, you are attracting by who you're being. It's not about what you do as much as who you're being. That's just the way that it works. And you'll see this, the idea of this in your life. So if you for whatever reason, you're like, well, I have no idea what that means. Well, look at your life. Look at the times when you've really been in sync, when you're really being like, yes, this is it. Like, I understand it. I feel it. I'm living it. I believe it, right? You're being that person in those moments. And that's when the expansion actually happens and people can actually see you as the mentor, right? That can, help them move forward. And when you're being it, that's pretty much like the core of it, right? And the idea here, more than anything, is just seeing that you're asking these people, right, that your potential clients, I feel that most people have like ideal clients, but they don't have like the soul clients, the ones that are destined for them, because they still need a little bit of tweaking there. But regardless, those potential clients that you have, right, they you're asking them for something. You're asking them to do something. You're wanting them to make a decision about you, right? So you're wanting them to be like, hey, work with me. I will help you do this, this, and this, and this. However, when you're saying those things and you're not doing it, then what are you doing? Because you're totally not in integrity. You're not in alignment, right? You're doing things that you can't really ask of someone. All of those things have to be in integrity. And it's very, very important that you understand this at the core level. So how are you, especially with making something non-negotiable, because your coaching has to be non-negotiable to them for them to be able to make the decision. That means that you also have to be non-negotiable. You have to be the expression of being non-negotiable. That's why I said non-negotiableness, right? So that they can see that you're not fucking around, right? That you are this thing. You are this thing. You are this expression. You are the thing that can actually help them expand. Because for you, this is it. This is the thing that will get them there, right? You're expressing that thing, right? And it's important that you address. So the things that you're asking your clients to do, the things that you're asking them to do, especially to sign up for sales, you're wanting them to say, hey, right? Like you're wanting them to say, this is non-negotiable for me. And therefore, it has to be non-negotiable for you. It has to. And I don't mean just in investing. I mean, where are you negotiating your highest truth? You're asking them for their highest truth. You're asking them to step into possibility. Where are you negotiating your possibility? Where are you not allowing your possibility to really flourish? Where exactly are you negotiating on your life? That's the entire idea here. And sometimes, depending on the level, more is required of you. So maybe for them, it's a little bit here and a little bit there, right? That is required. For you, if you're more advanced than them, obviously, your non-negotiableness has to be that much bigger. You have to show the expression of that thing a lot more expansive. You have to be being that non-negotiableness a lot more because your level is higher, right? If your level is higher, then you have to express that thing higher. It just has to be, right? So the thing that worked yesterday for you may not work today. It may not. You have to see where you're at. And sometimes I think that view can get a little blurry, can get a little bit funky because you don't know. You'll be like, I don't know. I'm confused. What is that? What is that thing that I should be doing? Where is it that I should be focusing my energy? What is the non-negotiable thing that I'm hiding from myself that will allow my clients to make the decision to make my coaching non-negotiable, right? How can I clear that energy in me? What is the energy that needs to be cleared in me so that then they can see it? They can feel it as non-negotiable for them. It starts with you. Everything starts with you. That's the entire thing here. So I'm wondering what you guys are, what your questions are so far from this. Because I have people on the line And I know that you're watching and I know that you're hearing this. What are you hearing? There's a question Q&A thing, or you can post it on Facebook. Your question. So the entire concept here is based on that. When I went for my 25K sales at the very beginning, right? My first one, it was back in January. I had to make that non-negotiable. I remember being I was in Florida at the very beginning of the month and making that decision. Oh my God, I need to raise my prices again. I had just raised my prices in October, and I was like, okay, I feel it. I need to raise my prices. They're already out of alignment. And at that particular point, I felt that my biggest, let me see, how do I explain it? My biggest sale was 4 times less than what it needed to be, based on the results that I was getting my clients, based on my own results, based on my experience of what had been happening, and like what the next level working with me was going to be, right? And it was very scary. It was very scary. I had to really make a conscious decision that this was it and nothing else. This was it and nothing else. It had to be non-negotiable. It was not negotiating with my prices. No negotiating with the fact that I was going to get 25K clients. That's what I wanted at the time. That's what was necessary for me. Let me see what Anastasia said. Yeah, because I couldn't do Facebook Live for whatever reason. It wasn't working, Anastasia, so I had to do Hangouts instead, unfortunately. So just put in the comment there, it's fine. So how do you make sure your desires for money aren't coming from ego? Yeah, that's a really good question. So, sorry, notifications are distracting. Let me get out of here. So how do you make sure that your desires are not coming from ego? I think it's really difficult when you're, okay, fine, I'm going to tell you. There is a thing that I've been doing, the thing that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And if you didn't hear me because you signed on a little bit later, you definitely want to go back and listen to the whole thing. So there are 2 aspects that I mentioned at the beginning that people aren't doing. And this is a part of it, of if you're wanting something for, if you're wanting something yourself, you have to be that yourself, right? So if you want your coaching to be non-negotiable, you have to be the energy of non-negotiable, right? Because you can't be negotiating with your life all the time and then not have the, and expect someone else to make the even unconscious, because it is unconscious feeling of this is non-negotiable for me if you're not being it yourself, right? And there are 2 things that I've been using lately that has been working really great. I mean, this is like the mecca of the mecca, and I feel that a lot of people aren't really experiencing this, especially on, in doing business and in all of these other aspects of, really leading a aligned life, right? And that is, one is immersion. So the immersion being that you are fully immersed in a particular being, right? Like you're being that. That's immersion. If you're stepping out of that being, non-negotiableness or whatever, right? Then it takes you out of that energy. You have to be immersed in it. You have to be it every second of every day, right? And of course, this is work, right? I think the general feeling of understanding and knowing, right, at the core, like from the immersion feeling, is what actually helps you to see the truth and see what's actually available there. The second one is integration. So when you're hiding from yourself, when you're not being all parts of you, when you're when you're giving your power away by saying yes when you mean no, no when you mean yes, and not making strong decisions, not really believing in yourself and all of that stuff, all of those things lead to ego-based desires, right? And it's very easy to fall into that, because if you're not understanding and aligning yourself with your truth, right, your idea of truth, then it's very, very easy to make desires that aren't yours, right? So long as you're stuck in stories and beliefs and ideas of things that aren't yours, it's very, very easy to make ego-based desires. Very easy. When you're integrated and immersed in that way of being, then it doesn't happen. It can't. It can't, because everything will be an expression of you. There will be no hiding. There will be nothing that's out of you. Like everything will be you. Everything is you, right? And I think those are the main two things. I didn't want to mention integration. I talk about immersion sometimes, but I didn't want to mention integration because it's one of those things that I've actually been keeping really close to my chest lately, because it's the deepest level of work that I've ever done. And actually I have now, I'm testing that even more with a group of 5 women that I'm calling in right now to experience like a real immersion with me. And further than the immersion, an actual integration, like fully body, mind, and soul connection, so that they can create those level desires, like so that they can really start calling in the things that they want and stop really settling and giving away the pieces that are theirs, right? I hope that that answers your question, Anastasia. So here's one thing that I will tell you. That's for Anastasia and anybody else that may be watching, because there's still some of you on the line. I know how deep this work goes, and I know how difficult it can be when you're not really understanding how it actually works. It's I could tell it to you all day, but until you actually have that experience, it really falls short, because my words aren't what actually transforms and helps you go from that desire, so to speak, to the actual experience of manifesting it, whether it's an ego or not. I just mean like really, I think that most people have that desire is not just for money or something like that. I think the desire is to really be themselves, and you being yourself is you abundant. It's you without limits, without barriers. It's you being able to create whatever the hell you want, right? And that is what actually happens when you're when you are integrated, when you are immersed in it, when you are actually being it. And it comes from that experiencing it, because you can't until you actually feel it in all of your body. That's why it's the being, it's the integration, it's the really connection that brings you back to center, right? And that's why I'm doing those immersions with the 5 women, I think, because it's the experience that will actually help them understand what being them actually really means, and what being them actually really can actually say and express out to the world, right? And that's when the desires really feel aligned, the clients really feel aligned, the 25K sales really feel aligned, like everything feels really true for you in that moment, because you're one, right? So if I didn't want to go into that for this one, I have to say, but thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. If you're having questions about this and you're still struggling with this, then the idea really here is that I personally think that having a conversation will really help you to see like the pieces that you're not integrating right now, the pieces that you're not being right now, that will help you to really start bringing it back to center, so that all of those other things can become easeful and graceful and loving and joyful, right? So long as you're stuck in just the goal, goals come and go. Being you and really without limits, that's something else. That's a bigger level truth there. So I hope that sobered you up for today. I think that this is 100 million times better than a cup of coffee. I have been loving being in Florida. If anything, for not needing to wear makeup. That has been delicious, and for really being able to really experience life from different eyes for a little bit. I think that's been truly delicious and more integrating for me. Especially my trip to Cuba was absolutely integrating and wonderful. Definitely more pictures to come. So I'm going to post with this a link to an application. If this is really, if you're still feeling like you're struggling, then I want to share with you a way, pretty much the fastest way for you to get there. Because if that, let me address this one thing. There's a tiny little voice inside of you that keeps telling you something's wrong. when you're integrated and you're completely immersed in being the woman that makes whatever, that has whatever, that is living fully in herself, you won't have that voice in your head telling you there's something wrong, right? There's that voice that keeps poking at you, like, why is it easy for them but not for me? Like, how am I like, it's just really, it's feeling like it's off. There's something off, right? And you can't really put your finger on it. You've been doing all of this other stuff and it hasn't been working. This is what I'm talking about. When this is done, there's no more need for you to really be doubting yourself. And that voice goes away naturally because it doesn't need to be there if you're being yourself, right? It doesn't need to be there when in question anything. When you're being really, really aligned and true to you, it goes away. It has to. Okay? So I will hope to see you soon and talk to you, because I have to tell you, this is kick ass. If you're not doing this, if you're still having that little voice inside of your head, let's take care of it.